Move everything to backup.
What about a rat?
You still texting that skank? Frying pizza, extra bacon.
The movie kicks off in a top-security prison somewhere in the U.S., where Riker, a notorious mafia boss,
Anything?
is serving time for drug smuggling and organized crime. His son Dobbs drops by for a visit. Since Riker's been locked up, Dobbs has been running their shady business,
What about that other?
keeping things afloat. Even though Riker hasn't been in prison for too long, he warns Dobbs to be smart about how he runs things, so they don't end up in deeper trouble. Dobbs, on the other hand, promises his dad he'll bust him out soon. After the prison visit, Dobbs and his crew hit up a local bar to unwind. While they're there, a news segment pops up on TV about Gunner, an ex-Special Forces soldier who's got a bunch of medals for his heroic service.
Afghanistan after a long year away.
This guy was a beast in Afghanistan, taking down countless terrorists. Turns out, Gunner actually owns the bar they're chilling at and happens to be there at the same time. One of Dobbs' guys, completely clueless about who Gunner is, starts messing with Claire, the bartender and Gunner's wife. Big mistake. Gunner snaps and takes down Dobbs' entire crew like it's nothing, using his military skills to wipe the floor with them. Dobbs, realizing he messed with the wrong guy, steps up to apologize and promises to leave without causing any more trouble. He warns Gunner to stay out of his business. As soon as Dobbs and his men leave, the cops roll in because someone called in a fight.
Settle the score.
Come on.
Gunner plays it cool, saying it was just a minor scuffle and it's already handled. The officers remind him to keep a low profile, especially since he's just back from his last mission overseas. Later that night, Gunner heads home to have dinner with his wife and two sons, Travis and Luke. Over the meal, he shares his plan to take the boys on a camping trip the next day. Luke is all in, super excited, but Travis isn't feeling it. He already made plans with his girlfriend and doesn't want to bail. After dinner, Gunner talks to Claire privately. She tells him she won't be able to join him on the trip since the bar has been crazy busy.
I feel like a stranger.
Gunner understands, but still wants Travis to come along. The next morning, Gunner and Luke get ready for their adventure, but Travis is nowhere to be found. He stayed over at his girlfriend's house. Not one to take no for an answer, Gunner heads over to bring Travis back, even if he has to drag him out himself.
Privacy. Their privacy?
When he arrives, the girlfriend's dad tries to stop him, but Gunner pushes through and finds Travis passed out in bed with his girlfriend.
Good. You can explain to them why you let on.
Waking him up, he drags Travis out of there, scolding the girlfriend's parents for letting their daughter sleep with a guy she isn't married to. Later, Gunner's buddy picks them up, and they drive out to the wilderness. After setting up camp, they explore the area, take in the scenery, and enjoy a night around the campfire.
Get the Medal of Honor for saving.
Even though Travis was reluctant at first, he actually starts to enjoy himself. The next morning, Gunner takes them on a motorcycle ride to go deer hunting. Along the way, he notices something strange, dead animals scattered around a dried-up riverbed.
You smell that?
Sensing trouble, he tells the boys to stay put while he and his friend investigate. Soon, they stumble upon a hidden drug operation deep in the woods. The place is run by Dobbs, with Riker still calling the shots from prison. Gunner doesn't want any trouble, so he decides to leave quietly. But just as they turn to go, his friend steps on a landmine. The explosion instantly kills him and alerts the guards. Dobbs' men rush out, forcing Gunner into a fight. While he holds him off, Dobbs and his crew capture Travis and Luke. Dobbs yells at Gunner to surrender or he'll hurt his sons. But Gunner, always thinking ahead, comes up with another plan. At the same time, one of Dobbs' own guys, who's actually working undercover for the DEA, secretly sends out their location.
Let's try this again.
Not long after, DEA agents storm the place, causing chaos. Dobbs manages to escape with Travis and Luke, while Gunner gets caught up in the raid and mistaken for one of the criminals. Despite his protests, the DEA agents don't buy Gunner's story and haul him in for questioning. At headquarters, he tries explaining that he was only out camping and had nothing to do with the drug operation, but the agents don't believe him. Frustrated, Gunner starts losing his patience.
What are you talking about?
I sent Luke and Travis together.
Luckily, one officer recognizes him and steps in, promising to get him released soon. About half an hour later, Claire shows up, furious about their sons being kidnapped. She demands that Gunnar do whatever it takes to bring them back.
I don't care what you do.
At that moment, Gunnar gets a call from Dobbs. Dobbs, believing Gunnar tipped off the DEA, is beyond angry. He gives Gunnar an ultimatum: return the drugs the DEA confiscated, or Travis and Luke will die.
By this time tomorrow,
Gunnar swears he had nothing to do with the bust, but Dobbs isn't interested in excuses. He hangs up, leaving Gunnar with no choice but to act fast. Soon after, the officer who vouched for Gunnar returns and tells him he's been cleared and is free to go.
It's a federal operation.
Unlock.
Gunnar immediately asks if he knows where the DEA stores confiscated drugs. The officer refuses to give him any information, knowing it could have serious consequences.
I think he's still calling the shots through his son.
Gunnar, now out, needs to come up with a new plan. That night, he heads to a nightclub where Dobbs' crew hangs out. Spotting one of Dobbs' men, Gunnar beats him senseless until he spills the location of where Travis and Luke are being held. A steel warehouse. Without wasting time, Gunnar heads straight there. Meanwhile, Dobbs is getting paranoid. The DEA raid didn't add up, and he starts suspecting a mole in his team.
Follow the plan.
He lines up his men and checks their phones one by one until he finds a traitor and executes him on the spot. Still uneasy, he moves to another safe house, taking Luke with him while leaving Travis behind with his remaining men. 20 minutes later, Gunnar arrives at the steel warehouse. Wasting no time, he takes down every single one of Dobbs' men, determined to get his sons back. Travis was almost within reach, but Luke was nowhere in sight. At the same time, the DEA stormed the steel warehouse after receiving intel from a traitor. Gunnar told Travis to go with the DEA while he set off to track down Luke. Meanwhile, Dos had set up a new drug lab at his third hideout, replacing the one the DEA had busted. He walked over to Luke and asked if he was worried. Luke, showing no fear, confidently replied that he wasn't, because he knew Gunnar would come for him. He even mentioned that if Gunnar could handle terrorists in Afghanistan, dealing with Dos's crew, who were mostly X-Street thugs, would be a piece of cake. Back at Travis's home, the DEA had just dropped him off. His mother, Claire, was overwhelmed with relief and clung tightly to him, afraid she'd never see him again. Not long after, Travis got a message from Gunnar, instructing him to head to the river near their house. When Travis arrived, Gunnar told him to look up information about a prisoner named Riker and find out where he was being held. It didn't take long for Travis to discover that Riker was a Mafia boss and Dos's father. He also found out which prison Riker was locked up in. Gunnar then revealed his plan. He was going to break into the prison, kidnap Riker, and use him as a bargaining chip to get Luke back. He had already contacted some of his military buddies for backup. Travis, however, refused to go home after hearing the plan. He insisted on going with Gunnar to help save Luke. Eventually, Gunnar gave in and brought him along. The plan was for Gunnar to parachute into the prison and grab Riker, while Travis stayed with Gunnar's friend, Sean. As they flew over the prison, Gunnar jumped, tossing smoke bombs to create chaos before landing. Disguising himself as a prison guard, he managed to move around unnoticed and soon found Riker. Pretending to be one of Dos's men sent to break him out, Gunnar convinced Riker to follow him through a back exit. Once they were far enough from the prison, Sean and Travis arrived to pick them up. During the ride, Sean told Travis stories about Gunnar's incredible missions in Afghanistan. Riker, overhearing the conversation, realized that Gunnar wasn't actually working for Dos. Silently, he grabbed a screwdriver from the car seat and hid it under his shirt. After about 20 minutes, Gunnar and Riker switched vehicles. Gunnar thanked Sean for his help and once again told Travis to go home with him. This time, Travis obeyed, and Gunnar continued the mission alone. Gunnar then told Riker that Luke had been kidnapped by Dos. He made it clear that Riker was being used as leverage in an exchange. Riker asked if Gunnar was sure that Dos would agree to the deal. Gunnar responded bluntly. If Dos refused, he'd take them all down, including Riker. Meanwhile, Dos was in the middle of a drug delivery when he got a call from Gunnar, who informed him that Riker was with him. Gunnar made it simple. If Dos wanted to save his father, he'd have to trade Luke for Riker. Dos, knowing how much his father meant to him, agreed without hesitation. He named an abandoned factory as the meeting spot, and both sides rushed to get there. Half an hour later, Gunnar arrived and immediately contacted Dos, telling him to bring Luke out. Dose and his men emerged, holding Luke at gunpoint. Just as the exchange was about to happen, Riker suddenly stabbed Gunnar with the screwdriver he had hidden. In the chaos, Riker accidentally shot himself and died on the spot. Furious at his father's death, Dose ordered his men to attack Gunnar. Gunnar fought off Dose's men and then chased after Dose, who grabbed Luke and tried to escape in a helicopter with his right-hand man. By the time the DEA arrived, it was too late. Dose was already airborne, and Gunnar seemed to have disappeared. During the flight, Dose ordered his right-hand man to kill Luke as revenge for his father's death. What Dose didn't know was that Gunnar had secretly boarded the chopper. A brutal fight broke out, with Gunnar managing to take down Dose's right-hand man. However, Dose fought back hard, nearly throwing Gunnar out of the helicopter. But Gunnar wasn't done yet. He regained control and turned the tables, ultimately causing Dose to fall to his death. Realizing that the helicopter was badly damaged, Gunnar grabbed Luke and parachuted to safety. In the end, Gunnar successfully saved Luke and took down one of the most notorious drug lords, a longtime target of the DEA. After everything was over, Gunnar brought Luke home safely. Thanks for watching. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a great day.